We're back. I'm back. Hi, guys. It's been a couple weeks since I've been here, and I think we're due for a life update. And then today, I'm going to talk about some of my biggest parenting struggle that I've had yet. I couldn't have recorded this a day earlier because I don't think I could have recorded the podcast without sobbing the entire time. It's been a week and a half since we got home from the cruise, when I'm recording this right now, and it just has been the most emotional week and a half of my life for various reasons. And if you saw some of my emotional posts on Instagram, today I'm going to share some of what they were about. And then in a couple weeks, I might share some of what it was about. There was so much that hit, I don't want to say at the same time, but within a day of each other. It was like and this is kind of how life is, and I can complain about it and hate it, or I can surrender to it and ride the wave of it. And I'm going to address real quick I'm trying to surrender to it and trying to ride the wave. I actually think I've done a really great job compared to maybe how I would have handled some of these things in the past. I also think I'm very lucky to have the support that I have on all sides. Like, you guys, my people are everything to me. I am so blessed. I am so lucky. They are the thing, my people, the things that are the most valuable in my life. And that goes for my friends, my family, my kids, my mom. It's just the people who I get to work with. I have very understanding people in my life. But I'm going to talk about, I think I got a little bit of, there are some haters, right? And the people who hate on my posts, by the way, are the people who don't follow me anyway. So they're coming from somewhere. They come find my posts and they give me their 2 cents, which honestly, on one hand, I can say it doesn't really matter because I don't know them. They don't know me. They don't follow me. Clearly, they just, are in some hate group somewhere. And also, when I read them, I'm like, okay, what truth can I find in what they say? Because I think most criticism, there's some truth you can find in it. Not all, but most of it. And some of it was about half shares. Because there were some things posted where, I didn't share all of what of what was going on. And I think in social media, especially with my life, there's a delicate balance, right? Like, on one hand, I don't want to show up smiling, acting like everything's great when really I'm in the middle of a lot of struggle, because to me that feels super inauthentic. It does. Especially if it's holding such a large space in my life as some of the stuff recently has, which I'll talk a little bit about today in a very respectful and delicate way. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot. It's been the heaviest time as a parent that I've ever had. The hardest, the most heart-wrenching as a parent that I have ever experienced. And then also, so like I was just saying, on one side, I don't want to show up while I'm going through all of this and just smile and act like everything is okay when it's really not, right? It is okay. And it's really hard. And then on the other side, I don't want to share all of what's going on out of respect for what's going on and respect for the people involved. And part of it, it's like, I've said before on here, and I'm going to mess the quote up, but something about basically not teaching from wounds. So like when there is a wound and when it's fresh, I have learned from experience that it is best to filter what I share until that wound begins to heal. And when the wound begins to heal, as it heals, parts can be shared that we have healed, right? And I feel like finally, I'm in a place, I guess we're a couple weeks post, the cruise right now. But I'm in a place where I feel like I can share a little more. And so on social media, I did share that, I was experiencing some struggles and some things that I'm not ready to share about. Some things our family's going through right now. And there were just some people that were like, half shares are ridiculous. I get it. But my other two alternatives did not seem like things that I was interested in. I was not interested in sharing all of it because no one deserves all of it, if I'm being totally honest, besides my family. I also was not interested in lying and putting on a mask and acting like everything's okay. Because guess what? Heidi of the past totally would have done that. So just like I mentioned in a few podcasts ago, I'm going to do it my friggin' way. And this is my way. My way is when I feel like half sharing, I'm going to half share. When I feel like not sharing, I'm not going to share. When I feel like full sharing, I'm going to share. Right? And I think we all can maybe learn a little bit from that. Do what you damn well want to do. Do what you damn well know in your heart is best for you to do. And my intention in any quote unquote half shares was to let anyone know who's out there experiencing a struggle that you're not alone. You're not alone. And also you can say you're struggling without sharing all of the details, even if it pisses I don't even want to attach a name to it. I know some people call it a Karen, but I know Karens that I love. But even if it pisses some internet person off, you can half share. You're allowed to do it the way you want to do it. And I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. That was a heavy sigh. That was a very heavy sigh. Let me just give a little bit of an all-around update before I get to some of the meat of it. I've been dealing with a lot, and I'm not going to exclude my family. My family has been dealing with a lot. We did have, and I'm going to say this too. This podcast is like my outlet. It is. It becomes this cathartic, therapeutic release for me. And I honestly don't know if it's doing any good for you. I'm sure it's giving fodder for the internet trolls. I'm sure. And also, I have heard from a handful of you guys that appreciate the share. So I'm going to do it. There's something too about not having a camera that has me feeling like I can share so deeply and so truly. And I don't know if this is going to be a new thing that I do, but for now, at this phase of my life where I mentioned to you that it has to be easy, it has to be something I love, it has to be something I'm passionate about. This is what's going to work because this methodology makes it easy. It makes it something I love to do and that's good for my soul. And I do love talking through some of this stuff. I truly do. But yeah. And if you know, it's like, I think sometimes when you hear, maybe for me, I'm like, gosh, I wonder if people listen to these podcasts and they're like, man, there's so much heaviness in Heidi. You know what? There's heaviness and there's also depth. There's so much. And I think if anything, this proves that what we see online, like this has always been here in me. It's always been here. What we see online with anybody is such a small, it's freaking hot in this car. Hold, please. What we see online with anyone is such a small sliver of who they actually are, and it's so easy to judge. It's so easy to look at who they are and judge one way or another. Like, oh my gosh, they have it all. I wish I were them, right? That's a small sliver of who they are. Or also, oh my gosh, they're so annoying. I can't believe them. Such a small sliver of who they are. Or, oh my gosh, they're so shallow, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you're getting like on Instagram or whatever platform you're on, you're getting literally seconds of their life each day. That's it. So it is shallow. And it's not authentic and it's not true, not by choice, but I think just by nature of the world that we live in, what we see is not actually what really is. And so I do love this because I think it gives me an opportunity to be who I really am. And yeah, everyone has a choice whether they like it and they listen or they don't. And none of it affects me, And I think you should only be listening to this podcast if this is something that makes you feel seen and heard and loved and uplifted. And if it doesn't, for any way, shape, or any reason, you shouldn't be. And I'm not offended by it. I've learned never to take anything personally, because it's not personal. Like what someone is going through in their life that makes them not appreciate or enjoy me isn't my fault. It's like I am who I am. And I think so often we are trying so hard to get all the likes and the attention and the approval from all of the places because we desperately want to be enough. We desperately want to be loved. We desperately want to be accepted. And it can be, when we take it personally, it can be hard when someone doesn't love who we are. Like when we say, oh my gosh, this is all of who I am. And someone says, okay, I see you, and I don't love that, right? That's hard. But then the reality is when we try to be what we think everyone else wants, we're still going to have those people that say, okay, I see who you're being, and I don't love that, right? So either way, my dad used to tell me, he would say, half the people are always going to appreciate what you do and love what you do, and the other half the people are going to criticize you, no matter what you choose to do. So he always said, do what you damn well want to do. Because you're going to have haters either way. And so for me, it's not I'm going to do what I want to do. It's just, I'm going to be who I want to be. I'm going to be who I am. Right? And to me, what I love in somebody else, there's not a type of person that I love. Right? It's not like, they have to be energetic. They have to be this. I'm not drawn to ways that people are like that. I don't care if they have a big house. I don't care if their Instagram is great. I don't care if they have kids or they don't have kids. They have a career. They don't have a career. What I am drawn to, this is a personal thing, can be totally different for you. I am drawn to authenticity. It is the most beautiful thing for me to see a human being completely authentic and real in their struggles, in their mistakes, in their ugliness, that messy middle that we've talked about. I love it. It's I melt. They become a fire, a warm fire with a blanket that melts me because it's beautiful. And I think that does go for most people. I think judgment is part of our ego, right? We judge it's just, looking good and trying to appear like we don't have any imperfections ourselves. But when we can drop judgment and we can actually let something be in front of us what it is, I think most of us would admit that someone else's authentic truth, even when it's ugly, is actually a really beautiful thing, because what it does is it gives us each permission to show or share our authentic truth. And the fact of the matter is, we're all going through this life without a manual. We all are. And in other people's shares, we find many God-made manuals. And one of the reasons I want to share some of what I'm sharing today is because I wish I had a manual for this. I wish more people in my life, I wish I knew about more people in my life who have gone through or experienced the same thing, because it is hard. It's hard as a parent. It's hard for my child. It's hard for the siblings. It's just a little bit difficult. Let me just, I guess I'm 14 minutes in. These podcasts were supposed to be 5 to 10 minutes. Remember that? The cruise was great. The cruise was really great. I got a lot of people asking. I have not shared hardly anything on social media about it. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. The thing is, I want to, because there were so many amazing elements of that cruise. I just feel like everyone needs to experience it. I am one of those people, I'm when something feels so great and it's so good and I find something that feels magic to me, I don't want to hide it for myself. I want everyone and their mother and their dog to experience it too. And let me just say this, Royal Caribbean, not an ad. I don't work with them. Didn't get any part of my my trip discounted, at least, a discount that not everyone else would get. They actually had, at least when I booked the cruise, they had a really wonderful deal going where it was like buy one room, get one half off. And so it was relatively, affordable compared to what it would have been otherwise. But it was awesome. The thing about, I think Royal Caribbean is great for kids. I've never been on another cruise line, so I can't speak to any others. Here's what I will say. Every time our ship pulled up to port, like we went to Nassau, the Bahamas, and then we did Perfect Day at Coco Cay. Every time our ship pulled up at port, ours was the biggest, baddest, most amazing ship. And I know it's not a competition, and there were some other Royal Caribbean ships. So friends, I will tell you, you get the best bang for your buck with, if you're doing Royal, Allure of the Seas. I spent a long time researching these ships, and the Allure of the Seas is the one that Chris and I actually had been on 12 years ago for the show, for Extreme Weight Loss. We went on Allure of the Seas, and we were only there for a couple days because then we had to get off and go shoot somewhere else. But like it was really cool. So to be on the same ship again was great. And I didn't even know, I had no concept of cruises back then. We were only doing it for work. I don't remember enjoying hardly any of it then. This time, to actually have done the research and to, see it from a different lens 12 years later. I've been like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different people in the last 12 years that now there's just such an appreciation for what ship we were on. So the Oasis class has a handful of ships. Okay. So there's like the normal ships. You should look up the Royal Caribbean Oasis class ships, and it will show you all of the Oasis class. Those are like the luxury ones, okay? Allure of the Seas, I think, was their second Oasis class. It's an older ship, so it's not like it's this brand new ship that costs a lot of money, because some of their newer ones, like I think Icon of the Seas is one of their newer ones. I couldn't tell you the other ones, but it was like you couldn't get one seat, one crappy bed. One person was like $2,500 for the Icon of the Seas. Yeah, the ship was amazing, and it's brand new. It's like the top of their Oasis class, but the price, I couldn't even make it work. So, you can't justify it. I couldn't make it work, and even if I could, I don't think I could justify that. So, let me just say the Allure of the Seas seems to be the sweet spot where you still get all of the benefits of the Oasis class, and also the price of, an older ship, which I think was just phenomenal. Also, don't be scared if you're doing a cruise that says you're going to an island called Perfect Day at Coco Cay that's owned by Royal Caribbean. That was the freaking best island we went to. It was incredible. If you can do an over-the-water beach cabana, I guess it's an over-the-water cabana, I highly recommend it. Pool your money together. Do it. Show up at 7 a.m. if you can, and stay until the very end. Don't plan anything. There's just so much. There's a water park right there. We swam, you guys. We swam with sharks. Not because we signed up to swim with sharks, but because over by there was this amazing sandbar out in the ocean near where our over the water cabana was, and there was a slide on our cabana. There was food, free food. Nothing is really free. You pay for it with the cabana, but we walked out onto the sandbar, and there were sharks, massive sharks. And maybe I'm making this bigger. I remember when my kids and the rest of our party, they were a handful of hours behind me. So I was there earlier with my mom and some of my kids. And by the time the rest of our party got there, I was like, there's some huge sharks. You won't believe it. I couldn't even tell you what kind they were. I don't know if they're like lemon sharks or whatever, but whatever kinds of sharks they were, we were assured by the lifeguards. They came around and said, hey, there are sharks, and you need to know they're very friendly sharks. They will not touch you. They're more scared of you than you are of them. You can actually get up somewhat close and you'll be totally fine. And so we did. But, it looked like underwater with my goggles, these sharks looked like they were 6 feet long. I actually had told the party I was with, I said, I think they were 8 feet long, 6 to 8 feet. And then another person who was there when we went back out, I had said, hey, how big do you think that shark was? And they're like, oh, it was big, like 3.5 feet. I'm like, really? So things appear larger than they actually are, as it, I think, goes with many things in life. Anyway, so the cruise is great. Perfect day at Coco Cay was awesome. Again, not an ad, but Royal Caribbean, if you are listening and you want to gift my family a cruise, I will post all about it. And I loved it. And, there's just so much to do on a cruise ship. I'm sure all of the cruise lines are this way, but you get this amazing itinerary the day before with just hundreds of things that are happening, like free classes. Some are actually paid for, but we had some dinners that we reserved ahead of time and paid money for. And then we realized how amazing the buffets are. I'm blown away. So amazing. And so we ended up canceling, and Royal was great. They gave us a refund for all of the things we had booked that we ended up not doing. We do not pay a dime for food. Do not pay. The free food there is wonderful. I mean, I will admit I ate more gluten on that cruise than I have since last October when I stopped eating gluten. I just went on a gluten binge. I could have done better. And, at the buffet, there were plenty of gluten-free options. They actually had gluten-free desserts too. So they had a lot, but I just was like, okay, screw it. I'm going to do it. I ate pizza at midnight, sometimes 2 a.m. I literally just let it go. And I'm glad, because the food was probably one of the best parts of the cruise for me as someone who sometimes struggles with appetite. It was a gift. It was a really big gift. And I came home, and my trainer, who's used to me coming home from vacations looking skinnier, because I'm out of my norm. I don't have my prepared food. There's so many dietary restrictions with my health issues that I've been going through. I came home and my trainer was like, oh, you actually gained a little bit of weight. This is good for you. Because I do struggle to gain weight. And listen, I know when I say that, some people are like, wow, cry me a river. No, if you are one of the people who struggle with appetite, because I'm just a big ball of nerves all the time, and my body does not want to hold weight. The craze these days is a big butt. And I have to work so hard to have a sign of a butt. I wish I had something to jiggle. I don't. There is nothing for a man to grab. Nothing. And I wish it was a little bit different. But right now it's not. All right, so that's the cruise. Now, I'm going to say we had plans for the 4th of July. We were going to be heading up. I was going to take the kids somewhere, and it honestly was probably the trip I was the most excited for. Taking the kids somewhere where they were going to be fishing, they were going to be jet skiing, they were going to be chilling. I had in my mind, I have visions of how family vacations are going to go, we were going to play cards at night in the house and blah, blah, all these things. We were going to take walks and whatever. And the vision in my head, what's that quote that I've said before? The thing that screws us up most in life is the picture in our heads of how it's supposed to be. And I'm usually not much of a dreamer, but I had such a dream for the cruise vacation and for this vacation. And the cruise also included playing cards at night, and it didn't happen. But this other vacation ended up not working out. Over the 4th, I decided last minute for various reasons to stay home and just spend 4th of July with my kids, partially. I mean, there again, various reasons. One of them also, having teenagers is really hard, okay? Let's just talk about this for a minute. It's with mine, maybe I'm alone, and maybe I've done something wrong. They're not wrong. Maybe I've done something wrong. But when I give an inch, it is they don't just take a foot or a yard or even a mile. They take 10 miles, and me as a single woman who is doing most of it on my own, it's really hard for me to know the line between what's enough, what they need and what they want, or what isn't, what is enough to give to where it's not too much. It's really difficult. And so I do get met with a lot of resistance, and my kids are really wonderful. So as I say this, I also want to make sure I'm prefacing and explaining that I do have the best kids. And if you know my kids in person, you know, I sound like a blind parent right now when I say this, like one of those parents that doesn't know what their kids are really doing and they think they're angels. No, my 4 kids are angels. I'm not kidding you. They are. They really are. It doesn't mean that they don't make mistakes, because they do. But like, I am so grateful that my kids, when they do things that they know they shouldn't do, most of the time, probably not all, most of the time, I get a giggly, nervous, red-faced confession a week or 2 later. Almost always. And then I can giggle with them and say, okay, what did you learn? How'd you feel? But, you know, so I really am very lucky that I have kids that feel safe enough to tell me truths when I never in 1 million years would have told my parents some of the truths that my kids tell me. But, you know, so I really have great kids. They have such wonderful hearts, and they're teenagers. And I'm really struggling right now with the fact that Maddox is leaving in 5 weeks. 5 weeks. 5 weeks. And I swear, it's just teenagers want to spend more time with their friends than their family, you know? And I'm trying to figure out where the middle ground is. Where do I put my foot down and say, no, this is family time? And where do I just let them be who they want to be? Right? Because I think I grew up with a dad who every second was family time. If you grew up with me, I went to your high school, you never saw me because I was grounded 100% of the time. Not for being a bad child. I was grounded for whatever my mom and dad could think of. And my mom, if you listen to this, mom, you know this is true. Literally, they would just find things to ground me over. Their purpose and intention was to keep me safe. They didn't want me out there doing things that they had done when they were my age, but I was actually a really great kid, a really well-behaved kid, and also very much lived in a bubble. Right. And yeah, I have a great relationship with my mom and my brothers now, and I'm so grateful for it. My dad obviously has passed, but I did miss out on a lot. And I think because I was raised in a bubble, the real world smacked me down. And there were a lot of lessons. I was raised in a bubble, and then I went directly into marriage. And then after that marriage, life got hard. Like, I didn't know how to make decisions on my own. I made a lot of bad decisions. I found myself in some pretty ugly situations. I was a people pleaser that couldn't tell literally anybody no. And I still struggle with some of that stuff. And so with my kids, it's like, I want to give them the space to be who they are. Like, I want them to be able to make mistakes while they have training wheels on right now. Like, they have water wings on. They're in my house, and there's like a soft landing for mistakes that they make. And I want them to experience time with friends. I don't want them to neglect family. Like, I am such a family person, and it's just a hard thing. So I'm trying to navigate that as a single mama right now. I'm also just navigating shifting dynamics with kids. I think, like, you know, there's each kid, it's like, I don't have favorites. I don't. It might seem like it from social media because I might post some kids more often than others. And it's only because those kids are okay with me posting more than the other ones. That's what it really is. But, you know, with kids, it's constantly shifting. And there are periods in adult or parenthood where I'm much closer to some of my kids, and periods where I'm further away from others. And it's just constantly shifting, and their needs are shifting. So we're going through a lot of that right now. I'm 30 minutes in. I can't help but think that maybe I need to end this episode right here and then go into a brand new episode that talks about my biggest parenting struggle. I'm going to do that. So we're going to end it for this week. And then I want you to tune in next time, because they are two very different topics. And I want to make sure I give the respect and the space to my next topic that it deserves. I also might want to wait a day or two, maybe a week, Just because the thing that I want to talk about is, while it's healing and it's better, it's still unfolding. Okay? And so I know it's hard to hear half truths, or half shares, not half truths. I know it's hard to hear half shares. And also, I mean, those who are actually close to me in my life do know what's going on. There's a good handful of friends that are in it with us and helping us figure out somewhat of a medical mystery. But, you know, I think maybe this is God's way right now. Like, he just had me talk for 30 minutes. And maybe this is God's way of saying, okay, this episode's not it. Let's give you some time. Let's see how this unfolds a little bit more. And then when you're even less emotional about it, because I do think I need to approach this, I might cry when I talk about it. And when we're, you know, further along, then maybe we'll talk about it. Let me just say this. I'm going to say everyone's fine. Nothing is life-threatening, which is beautiful. How lucky am I? You know, and I have to remind myself of that. Like, as I'm going through this and my heart is breaking, I have to remind myself that we are all safe. And sometimes the kids and the humans who have the greatest hearts and are just are amazing, they're the ones who are dealt some of the toughest challenges. And what I will say is, I know that this child of mine is the strongest to handle what is upon them. And I know that her parents are the best to help her through this. And that they have a God that is helping them through this. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for listening to my life update. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. I love you. I'll be back next week, or maybe in 2 weeks. We don't know, but I'll be back. All right, love you. Bye.